3 men in fake uniforms stopped their bulldozer in front of our Jewish center. They waved papers in the air, shouting that we needed to leave immediately. The HOA had finally made their move to destroy our building and take our land. They thought we would run away scared. They didn't know I was a former Navy SEAL. This wasn't just about a building, this was about standing up to bullies who wanted to erase us from their perfect neighborhood. My name is Daniel Levin. I took over as director of Beth Shalom Community Center 3 years ago after serving 12 years as a Navy SEAL. This center was my grandfather's legacy, a place built with his own hands where our Jewish community could gather and support each other. Everything changed when Oakwood Heights, a luxury housing development, expanded around us. Our modest brick building with its Star of David mosaic suddenly became what they called an eyesore in their vision of suburban perfection. The first time I met Margaret Whitley, the HOA president, I knew we were in trouble. Her smile never reached her eyes. "Mr. Levin," she said during that first meeting in my office, "your center simply doesn't fit our community standards. We'd be willing to make a generous offer for the property." I declined politely. The center wasn't for sale. The next week, violation notices began appearing on our door. Complaints about noise during our services. Citations for our holiday displays. Parking restrictions that only affected streets near our center. "They want us gone," Rabbi Goldstein said one evening after half our usual members couldn't attend because their cars had been towed. "This is just the beginning." He was right. I'd seen this pattern before in my military career. Isolate, pressure, then remove. But I hadn't expected to face these tactics in my hometown. "We're not leaving," I told our worried board members. "This center has stood here for 50 years. It will stand for 50 more." The HOA's attacks came in waves, each more aggressive than the last. First, they restricted all street parking near us. Our elderly members couldn't walk the 6 blocks from the nearest legal parking space. Attendance dropped immediately. Next came the noise complaints. Every Friday evening during Shabbat services, police would arrive responding to anonymous calls. The officers were always apologetic. They knew our quiet services weren't disturbing anyone, but they had to follow up on each complaint. "Fourth time this month," Officer Rodriguez said one evening at our door. "Look, between us, these calls are all coming from the same houses in Oakwood Heights." Then building inspectors started showing up weekly. Fire code checks, plumbing inspections, electrical assessments. Each time they found nothing wrong, but the constant disruption sent a clear message to our community: "You're being watched, you're not welcome." Families who lived in Oakwood Heights but attended our center received warning letters about associating with undesirable elements. Children who came to our after-school programs were excluded from neighborhood activities. One family found their mezuzah vandalized and received an HOA citation for unapproved exterior decorations the same day. Through it all, Margaret Whitley never appeared personally. She worked through official channels, maintaining deniable distance while directing the campaign against us. After 6 months, our community was fracturing under pressure. Attendance was down 60%. Our funds were draining from legal consultations and constant repairs to meet ever-shifting requirements. "Maybe we should consider their offer," suggested one board member during a difficult meeting. "We could rebuild somewhere else." I placed my hand on the wooden table my grandfather had built. "If we leave, we tell our children that when faced with bullies, we run. That's not the lesson I want to teach." One Tuesday morning, Margaret Whitley made her first direct move. She appeared at our door during a small weekday service with 2 HOA board members. "Mr. Levin," she said crisply, "may we speak privately?" In my office, she placed a folder on my desk. "Our final offer. 30% above market value." I didn't touch it. "We're not selling." She produced another document. "This is notice of our intent to file for eminent domain through our partnership with the City Development Authority. Your property has been designated part of a revitalization zone." "That's not how eminent domain works," I replied. "You can't simply declare our private property part of your development plan." Her smile tightened. "You'd be surprised what's possible with the right connections. Fighting this will bankrupt your center before the first hearing." "Is that a threat?" "It's reality. You're fighting a losing battle." After she left, Rabbi Goldstein looked worried. "Can they really do that?" I examined the document. "No, this is a bluff. But it tells us something important." "What's that?" "They're getting desperate. Which means they'll make mistakes." I was right. The mistake came exactly 1 week later, when 3 men in fake uniforms arrived with a bulldozer and fraudulent eviction papers. I watched them on our security cameras, recognizing immediately that something was wrong. The uniforms were close but not quite right. The badges had incorrect numbering. And no legitimate officer would arrive with demolition equipment before an eviction was even processed. "Sarah, call our attorney and start recording," I instructed. "I'll handle this." I walked outside alone, standing firmly in front of our entrance as the men approached. "This is private property," I called out. The leader held up papers. "Not anymore. We have orders to clear this building immediately." I took the documents, examining them carefully. They looked official, letterhead, case numbers, signatures, but contained subtle errors my training had taught me to spot. "These papers are fake," I stated calmly. "And impersonating officials is a serious crime. Listen, buddy," the leader stepped closer. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. You have 30 minutes to clear out before the bulldozer starts work." I didn't move. "Who sent you?" "This is a legal order," he began. "Impersonating officials is a felony," I interrupted. "So is attempted forced entry and fraud. You're committing multiple crimes right now and you're being recorded from 3 different angles." "I'll ask once more, who hired you?" The youngest man, barely in his 20s, began backing away. "This isn't what I signed up for. You said this was just gonna scare them out." "Shut up, Rick," the leader hissed. I focused on Rick. "You're being recorded committing multiple felonies. The real police are already on their way. Is whoever paid you going to bail you out of prison?" Rick's face paled. "It was the HOA lady. She paid us $5,000 to clear you people out. Said you were squatters who wouldn't leave." The leader lunged toward Rick, but I stepped between them, my training taking over. Within seconds, I had controlled the situation, restraining the leader with a hold that looked casual but left him immobilized. "Here's what happens next," I said quietly. "The real police are coming. You can wait and explain yourselves, or you can leave immediately. Either way, we have your faces, vehicle information, and this entire interaction on video." The fight left the leader's body. I released him and the 3 men retreated quickly to their vehicle. "This isn't over," the leader called as they drove away. "You're right about that," I replied. Inside, Sarah's hands were shaking as she ended the recording. "That was incredible. You knew they were fake immediately?" I nodded. "Details were wrong. Real officials don't operate that way." Rabbi Goldstein emerged from his office. "I called the police. They're sending officers right away." "Good," I said. "But first, I need to make another call." I dialed Margaret Whitley's number. "Mr. Levin," she answered coldly. "I hope you're calling to reconsider our offer. Actually, I'm calling about the 3 men and bulldozer you sent to our center today. I thought you should know they've already identified you as the person who hired them." Her pause spoke volumes. "I have no idea what you're talking about. The security footage is quite clear. As is the paper trail. Hiring people to impersonate officials and attempting to illegally demolish property carries serious prison time. The district attorney is very interested." "You're bluffing," she snapped, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. "We're holding a community open house this Saturday," I continued. "I'd like you to attend. You and the entire HOA board." "Why would we possibly?" "Because I'm offering you one chance to avoid criminal charges and a civil rights lawsuit. Come see who we really are. Meet the community you've been trying to destroy. After that, we can discuss a path forward that doesn't involve prison time." "Are you threatening me?" she demanded. "I'm offering you an opportunity you don't deserve. Saturday at noon. I hope you'll make the right choice." News of the confrontation spread quickly. By evening, our phones were ringing constantly with community members offering support. By morning, local news vans were parked outside. "We've received reports of individuals impersonating officials attempting to illegally demolish a community center," the reporter said into her camera. "The center has served the local Jewish community for nearly 50 years. What surprised me most was the response from Oakwood Heights residents themselves. I had no idea what the HOA was doing," one woman told me when she stopped by. "We moved here for the schools, not to drive out established community organizations." By Wednesday, 3 HOA board members had resigned, citing ethical concerns about leadership decisions. On Thursday, I received a call from the mayor's office. "This situation has gotten out of hand," Mayor Collins said. "The city would prefer this be resolved without a lengthy legal battle." "We've been trying to resolve this peacefully for months," I replied. "We were met with harassment and criminal intimidation." The mayor cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Yes, well, unfortunate choices were made. But perhaps we can find a compromise." "Our position is simple," I said. "Beth Shalom stays where it is. The harassment stops. And we need assurances this won't happen again, to us or anyone else. What if the city established a community integration committee? Representatives from all neighborhoods working together on development decisions. Your center would have permanent representation. Was a start. That would be a step in the right direction. But it doesn't address the criminal activity or civil rights violations. Let me speak with some people, the mayor offered. Perhaps we can find a comprehensive solution. On Friday afternoon, Margaret Whitley's attorney called. My client is prepared to discuss terms, he began. We're not selling, I replied immediately. That's no longer on the table, he said carefully. Ms. Whitley is prepared to issue a formal apology, resign from the HOA board, and establish a neighborhood diversity fund. In exchange, she would appreciate your discretion regarding certain allegations. I considered his offer. The criminal complaint has already been filed. That's between Ms. Whitley and the district attorney now. As for the civil matter, we need more than an apology. Such as written acknowledgement of the harassment campaign, financial restitution for damages and legal expenses, a binding agreement that the HOA will never again attempt to remove us. And yes, the diversity fund is a good start. The attorney sighed. I'll convey your terms. Saturday dawned bright and clear. We had spent the night preparing, cleaning, organizing, creating displays about our history and programs. By 10 o'clock, volunteers were arriving with food and decorations. Do you think she'll come? Sarah asked as we arranged chairs. I don't know, I admitted. But today marks a turning point either way. At 11:30, cars began filling our parking lot. Families from our Jewish community arrived, along with neighbors, local business owners, and elected officials. News crews set up cameras outside. At precisely noon, Margaret Whitley appeared. She came alone, dressed conservatively, her usual confidence notably diminished. The crowd parted as she approached me at the entrance. Mr. Levin, she said stiffly. I received your invitation. Thank you for coming, Ms. Whitley, I replied, offering my hand. Everyone is welcome at Beth Shalom. Always has been. She hesitated before shaking my hand briefly. My attorney conveyed your terms. I find them acceptable with some modifications. I nodded. Today isn't about negotiations. It's about community. Please join us. For the next 3 hours, Beth Shalom buzzed with conversation, laughter, and music. Rabbi Goldstein led tours, explaining our programs and history. Children played in our playground while adults shared food and stories. Most importantly, bridges formed between our community and Oakwood Heights residents. Many expressed surprise learning about our outreach programs, cultural events, and community service. I had no idea you offered after-school tutoring for any child in the district, one Oakwood Heights father told me. My son has been struggling with math. Bring him on Tuesday, I replied. Our volunteers would be happy to help. Margaret Whitley remained throughout the event, speaking little but watching everything. Near the end she approached me again. You built all this, she observed, gesturing around the thriving community space. Not me, I corrected. Generations before me. I'm just continuing their work. She nodded slowly. I underestimated what this place means to people. It's easy to dismiss what you don't understand, I replied. Harder to take the time to learn. My attorney will contact yours on Monday, she said. I believe we can reach an agreement that allows everyone to move forward. As she turned to leave, I added, this center has always been open to everyone, Ms. Whitley. That includes you and your community. Something shifted in her expression. Not quite remorse, but perhaps recognition. The following week brought formal resolution on multiple fronts. Margaret Whitley resigned from the HOA board. The criminal investigation into the fake officials resulted in plea deals that included community service and substantial fines. Margaret herself accepted legal responsibility for her role, avoiding prison time but receiving probation and a court order to complete cultural sensitivity training. Our civil claim was settled with a confidential agreement that included significant financial compensation, formal acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and binding commitments to respect our center's place in the community. Most importantly, the mayor established the Community Integration Committee, with representatives from all neighborhoods, including Beth Shalom and Oakwood Heights, working together on future development decisions. You stood your ground and won, Rabbi Goldstein remarked as we reviewed the final settlement. Not many would have had the courage. I thought about the lessons I'd learned both as a SEAL and from my grandfather. About fighting for what's right, not just what's easy. Sometimes the battle chooses you, I replied. All you can do is face it with integrity. In the months that followed, Beth Shalom flourished. Attendance at our programs doubled. The Diversity Fund established as part of our settlement supported cultural exchange programs throughout the community. Even former HOA board members became regular participants in our events. The most significant change wasn't in our building but in the community itself. The barriers between neighborhoods began to dissolve as people discovered what we had always known: that communities grow stronger through connection, not division. 1 year after the confrontation with the fake officials, we held a celebration marking Beth Shalom's 50th anniversary. Hundreds attended, including many Oakwood Heights residents who had become friends and supporters. During the ceremony, I unveiled a new plaque beside our entrance. This center stands as a testament to the power of community over division, understanding over fear, and justice over intimidation. May all who enter find welcome. Margaret Whitley never returned to Beth Shalom. But the barriers she had tried to build came down, one by one, as connections formed between communities that had once been divided. The HOA had tried to erase us from the neighborhood. Instead, they had ultimately helped us become more deeply woven into its fabric than ever before. 5 years later, I watched children from throughout the neighborhood playing together in our expanded garden. What had once been contested ground was now truly common space. The community integration model we'd pioneered had become a case study, adopted by other cities facing similar conflicts. Our center had grown, adding programs that served the entire community regardless of background or belief. Oakwood Heights had transformed too. Under new leadership, the HOA had shifted from exclusion to connection, working with surrounding neighborhoods rather than against them. The men who had come with the bulldozer that day had all faced consequences, but also redemption. Rick, the youngest, now volunteered with our youth program, teaching kids about making better choices than he had. As for Margaret Whitley, she had moved away after the settlement. But last month, I'd received a letter from her acknowledging that her actions had come from fear of change, not the community values she claimed to protect. "I still don't share your beliefs," she'd written, "but I was wrong to try to remove your center. The neighborhood is stronger with you in it." It wasn't an apology exactly, but it was recognition of a fundamental truth: communities grow stronger through diversity, not through enforced uniformity. My military training had prepared me for external threats. But this battle taught me something different: that sometimes the greatest threats come from within our own communities, from those who fear difference more than they value connection. By standing our ground without surrendering our values, we hadn't just saved Beth Shalom. We'd helped transform a divided neighborhood into a true community. My grandfather's words, which I'd recalled during our darkest moments, now seemed prophetic. A community center doesn't just serve a community. Sometimes it creates one. Looking around at what Beth Shalom had become, a genuine center of life for people of all backgrounds, I knew we had done exactly that. The covenant we had defended wasn't just about a building. It was about the promise of a society where difference is respected, where intimidation fails against principle, and where justice ultimately prevails. That was a covenant worth standing for.